Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of his ship, the Zephyr's Edge, watching the stars through the large viewing window. His 6 arms moved across different control panels as he checked their position. They were getting close to the edge of human, Voidspace, the mysterious area of space that humans claimed as their own. "Sir, we are now 10 minutes away from the human boundary," said Lieutenant Kira, his second in command. Her blue skin glowed softly in the dim light of the bridge. "Should we slow down?" Veltar clicked his sharp teeth together, a sign he was thinking hard. "No. We continue at full speed. The Galactic Council needs answers about what happens to our ships." For 50 years, no one knew much about humans. They appeared suddenly in galactic space, claimed a large section for themselves, and put up warning signals around it. The warnings were always polite but clear. Stay away for your own safety. But 17 ships had ignored those warnings over the years. Military vessels, trade ships, research craft, all had crossed into human space. None ever came back. None ever sent a message explaining what happened to them. The Zephyr's Edge was the Council's best ship. It had the strongest weapons, the fastest engines, and the smartest crew from different species across the galaxy. If anyone could find out what happened to the missing ships, it would be them. "Sir, I am picking up the human warning transmission," called out Zex, the communications officer. His crystal body sparkled as data flowed through him. The message played on the bridge speakers. A calm human voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. "Attention approaching vessel. You are nearing restricted space maintained by the human colonial authority. These areas contain dangerous gravitational anomalies and unstable wormholes. For your safety, please maintain a distance of at least 50 light years. If you require assistance, please transmit your needs and we will help however possible." Veltar had heard this message many times before. It sounded so normal, so helpful. But something about it always made his skin crawl. How did humans learn to speak galactic standards so perfectly? How did they know so much about space navigation when they were supposed to be a young species? "Captain," said Dr. Thane from her science station, "I am detecting something strange. There are no gravitational anomalies in this area. Our sensors show normal space." "Of course there are not," Veltar muttered. "The humans are lying about something." As they crossed the invisible line that marked human territory, alarms suddenly began ringing all over the ship. Red lights flashed as the crew rushed to their emergency positions. "Captain, multiple contacts appearing on sensors," Kira shouted, over the noise. "They came out of nowhere." Veltar looked at the main screen and felt his blood turn cold. 6 human ships surrounded them, each one sleek and silver like nothing he had ever seen before. They moved without making any sound or leaving any energy trail. It was as if they materialized out of empty space itself. "How is this possible?" whispered Dr. Thane. "Our sensors detected nothing until they were already here." The human ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. They had smooth curves and no visible weapons, but something about them made every instinct scream danger. They moved like living things, flowing around the Zephyr's Edge in perfect formation. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human vessels," Zex announced, his crystal form flickering with confusion. "Put it through," Veltar ordered. A new human voice filled the bridge, warm and friendly like someone greeting an old friend. "Captain Veltar of the Galactic Council vessel Zephyr's Edge, this is Commander Jihoon of the Human Colonial Defense Fleet. Please do not be alarmed. We are here to help you." Veltar felt his heart stop beating for a moment. "How do you know?" "My name?" he demanded. "We know many things, Captain. We have been monitoring your approach for some time. You and your crew are in great danger here. There are forces in this region that could destroy your ship in seconds." "What forces?" "Our sensors detect nothing dangerous." Commander Jihoon's voice remained calm and patient. "Your sensors are not advanced enough to detect the threats in this area. Please allow us to escort you to safety. We have prepared a secure location where you and your crew can wait while we resolve the situation." Lieutenant Kira moved closer to Veltar and whispered, "Sir, this feels like a trap. Maybe we should try to run." Veltar looked at the human ship surrounding them. Even if he wanted to escape, he doubted they could outrun vessels that could appear and disappear at will. "We will follow you," he said into the communication system. "But I want answers about what happened to our missing ships. All your questions will be answered soon, Captain. Please follow us and do not attempt any sudden movements. The gravitational fields in this area are very unstable." As the human ships began to move, leading them deeper into human space, Veltar wondered if he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, but he could see the fear in their eyes. None of them realized they would never see their home worlds again. 6 months had passed since the Zephyr's Edge disappeared into human void space. In the great assembly hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from 43 different species sat in growing panic. The massive chamber, built to hold thousands, felt smaller with each passing day as fear filled every corner. Ambassador Kethlin stood at the center podium, her crystalline body reflecting the worried faces around her. She had called this emergency meeting after weeks of sleepless nights and growing terror among the member worlds. "Friends and colleagues," she began, her voice echoing through the hall. "We can no longer pretend that what is happening in human space is normal. 17 ships have now vanished without a trace. 17 crews, thousands of our people gone." Counselor Vrek slammed his scaled fist on his desk, making the metal ring like a bell, his reptilian features twisted with anger. "The humans are stealing our ships. They must be building some kind of secret army with our technology." "But why?" asked Ambassador Thys, her snake-like body coiling nervously around her chair. "What could they want with our old ships? From what we know, human technology is already quite advanced." The hall erupted in worried voices. Some species spoke in their native languages, creating a chaos of sound that made translation difficult. Fear was the same in every language. Dr. Marin, the Council's chief scientist, activated a holographic display above the assembly. It showed a map of known space with human territory marked in red. "Look at this data carefully. Every ship that entered this area sent normal reports right up until they crossed the boundary. Then nothing. No distress signals, no debris, no energy signatures from weapons fire." "Maybe they are being held prisoner," suggested Ambassador Cole from the Trade Federation. "Humans might be keeping our people alive for some purpose." "What purpose?" Kethlin asked. "We have tried to contact them many times. Every message gets the same response. Polite words about safety and navigation hazards. They act like our missing ships never existed." The most disturbing part was how normal human communications seemed. Intelligence services had been monitoring human transmissions for months, hoping to find clues about the missing vessels. Instead, they heard boring conversations about farming, mining operations, and trade between human colonies. Commander Zektar of the Hegemony military stood up, his forearms gesturing dramatically. "I say we assemble a war fleet. 100 ships, maybe more. Too many for the humans to make disappear quietly." "And if 100 ships vanish just as easily?" Thys asked quietly. "What then?" The question hung in the air like poison gas. Everyone knew the answer. If humans could make 100 ships disappear without effort, then no one in the galaxy was safe. "There is something else," Dr. Marin continued, bringing up new data on the holographic display. "We have been studying the human warning beacons around their territory. The technology is unlike anything we have seen before." The display showed detailed scans of the simple-looking warning devices. "These beacons use power sources we cannot identify. They broadcast on frequencies that should be impossible to generate. And they have been operating for 50 years without any maintenance." Kethlin felt her crystalline structure vibrate with fear. "What are you saying, Doctor?" "I am saying that human technology might be far more advanced than we realized. Perhaps more advanced than all of us combined." The assembly hall fell silent. Representatives looked at each other with growing horror as the implications sank in. If humans were technologically superior, why did they hide in their small corner of space? Why send polite warnings instead of demands for surrender? "Maybe," whispered Ambassador Nex from the outer colonies, "they are hiding something worse than advanced technology. Maybe they are protecting us from something." "Protecting us from what?" Vrek demanded. From themselves, Nex replied. The idea was too terrifying to consider. A species so powerful they voluntarily isolated themselves to keep others safe, suggested, capabilities beyond imagination. What kind of weapons could make an entire species decide to live in isolation? Trade Minister Locke activated his communication panel. I have been reviewing economic data. Human space contains at least 40 colony worlds, maybe more. They have been expanding steadily for decades, but they have never tried to trade with anyone. They produce everything they need. A completely self-sufficient civilization, Dr. Marin mused. That level of technology would require mastery over matter itself. The assembly began to panic again. Some representatives demanded immediate military action. Others called for complete isolation of human space. A few suggested trying to negotiate, though no one could agree on what to offer a species that seemed to need nothing. We could try economic pressure, suggested Trade Minister Locke desperately. Cut off their access to shipping lanes. Ambassador Thys laughed bitterly. What shipping lanes? They do not trade with anyone. They do not need us for anything, so be. The hours passed. The debate grew more desperate. Some species threatened to withdraw from the Council entirely. Others spoke of building massive defense fleets around their homeworlds. Fear was spreading across the galaxy like a disease. Finally, Kethlin called for order. We will establish a monitoring station at the edge of human space. Constant observation of their territory. If anything changes, we will know immediately. And if more ships disappear? Asked Counselor Vreck. Kethlin's crystalline form dimmed with worry. Then we will know we are dealing with something far beyond our understanding. As the assembly ended, representatives returned to their worlds carrying terrible news. The galaxy's greatest fear was no longer war or disease or natural disaster. It was the unknown intentions of their human neighbors. Dr. Minho walked through the peaceful streets of Haven Colony, watching the morning routine of its unusual residents. A crystalline engineer named Yenna was tending to her garden beside a serpentine diplomat who practiced meditation in the early sunlight. Near the fountain, children from different species played together while their parents chatted about normal things like weather and work schedules. To any observer, Haven looked like a perfect multicultural community. The residents seemed happy and content, living in comfortable homes with everything they needed. They believed they were temporary guests of humanity, waiting for diplomatic negotiations to resolve the incident that brought them here. None of them knew they would never leave. Minho entered the administrative building where Commander Ji-hoon was reviewing daily reports. The human commander looked tired, as he always did these days. Managing the sanctuary protocol was taking its toll on everyone involved. How are our newest residents settling in? Ji-hoon asked without looking up from his holographic displays. Captain Veltar is adapting well, Minho replied, settling into a chair across from the commander's desk. He believes the Galactic Council is working on prisoner exchange agreements. The cover story is holding. Ji-hoon nodded and pulled up psychological profiles of Haven's 1847 residents. Each file contained detailed information about beings from 37 different species, all former crew members from ships that had vanished in human space over the past 50 years. Any signs of suspicion? Ji-hoon asked. Minho hesitated. Veltar is intelligent. Sometimes I catch him asking questions about things that do not quite add up. How long negotiations usually take, why some residents seem confused about how long they have been here, small details like that. Through the office window, they could see Captain Veltar walking with Dr. Thane and Lieutenant Kira toward the community center. The three aliens looked relaxed and friendly, discussing what appeared to be plans for an evening social gathering. The memory adjustments are working perfectly, Minho continued. They remember arriving here a few months ago, even the ones who have been here for decades. They believe their families know where they are. They think this situation is temporary. Commander, Ji-hoon stood and walked to the window. Sometimes I wonder if we are doing the right thing. The alternative is worse, Minho said firmly. You have seen the psychological studies. Full knowledge of their situation would drive most of them insane. The depression rates, The suicide attempts in the early years before we perfected the protocol. Ji-hoon remembered those dark times. Before humanity developed the memory adjustment technology, alien captives had to live with the full knowledge that they were prisoners who would never see their homes again. The results had been catastrophic. Now, with careful psychological management, the residents of Haven lived normal, happy lives. Admiral Soyeon wants a full report on the hegemony captain, Ji-hoon said. The council is getting suspicious about the missing ships. We might need to consider more direct action. Minho pulled up Veltar's file on his personal display. He is a career military officer, used to command and action. The peaceful life here suits him, but his tactical mind is always working. If anyone is going to figure out the truth, it will be him. The Sanctuary Protocol had been humanity's answer to a terrible problem. When humans first achieved faster-than-light travel and encountered other species, they quickly realized their technology was centuries ahead of everyone else. The technological gap was so vast that peaceful coexistence seemed impossible. Other species would either worship humans as gods or fear them as devils. There could be no friendship between equals when equality did not exist. Worse, knowledge of humanity's true capabilities would destabilize galactic civilization. Wars would start as species fought to either ally with or destroy the dominant power. So humanity chose isolation. They claimed a section of space and warned others to stay away. But curious species kept sending ships to investigate. Rather than destroy these vessels or reveal their true power, humans developed the Sanctuary Protocol. Every ship that entered human space was carefully intercepted using advanced stealth technology. The crews were relocated to Haven and other hidden colonies where they lived comfortable lives, their memories gently adjusted to prevent despair. As far as the galaxy knew, these ships had simply vanished. Do you think they will ever be ready for the truth? Ji-hoon asked. Minho considered the question carefully. In a few hundred years, maybe, when their technology advances enough that the gap is not so overwhelming, when they develop the wisdom to handle knowledge of what humanity has become. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Admiral Soyeon's face appeared on the communication screen, her expression serious as always. She looked younger than her years, but her eyes carried the weight of enormous responsibility. Commander Ji-hoon, Dr. Minho, she said in greeting. I need an assessment of the current situation. The Galactic Council is planning something. Our monitoring stations report increased military activity near the boundary. The residents remain stable, Ji-hoon reported, but Captain Veltar is beginning to ask difficult questions. We may need to implement advanced protocols. Admiral Soyeon was quiet for a moment. Prepare for full disclosure procedures. If Veltar discovers the truth, we will need to decide whether to trust him with it or enhance the memory adjustments. After the transmission ended, Minho and Ji-hoon sat in silence. Outside, the residents of Haven continued their peaceful lives, unaware that their existence depended on one of the galaxy's greatest lies. Sometimes, Minho said quietly, I think the kindest thing we do is let them believe they matter. Captain Veltar sat in his quarters, staring at the small notebook where he had been writing down strange things he noticed about Haven Colony. The pages were filled with questions that kept him awake at night. Why did the human guards always look exactly the same even though they claimed to work different shifts? Why did some residents talk about being here for years while believing they had only arrived months ago? And most disturbing of all, why could he not remember the exact date when his ship had been intercepted? He closed the notebook and walked to his window. Outside, the artificial sun was setting over Haven's perfect landscape. Everything looked so normal, so peaceful, but something was terribly wrong. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Dr. Yenna, the crystalline engineer, entered quietly. Her crystal body glowed dimly in the evening light. Captain, I need to show you something, she whispered. But not here. Meet me in the old storage facility after midnight. Veltar nodded. Over the past weeks, he had noticed that Yenna seemed different from the other residents. She asked the same uncomfortable questions he did. She noticed the same strange details that did not add up. At midnight, Veltar made his way through Havens, empty streets to the storage facility on the edge of town. Inside, he found Yenna waiting with Commander Thex from the Trade Federation. The military officer's reptilian features were tense with worry. "Captain," Yenna began, "I have been conducting secret experiments with my natural abilities to analyze matter. Look at this." She held up a small piece of metal from a wall panel and made her crystal body glow brighter. Energy flowed through the metal, revealing its molecular structure in the air above her hand. "This material should not exist," she said. "The atomic bonds are arranged in patterns that defy every law of physics I know. The energy efficiency is impossible. This single piece of metal contains enough stored power to run my homeworld for a year." Veltar felt his blood grow cold. "What are you saying?" Commander Thex stepped forward. "We are saying that human technology is so far beyond ours that we cannot even understand how it works. I have been watching their security systems. The barriers around this colony are not walls or force fields. They are manipulations of space-time itself." Yenna made the metal glow again. "I tested other materials around the colony, the buildings, the vehicles, even the artificial soil in our gardens. Everything is made from matter that has been restructured at the quantum level. Humans do not just have advanced technology, Captain. They have mastery over the fundamental forces of reality." The three aliens stood in silence, trying to understand what this meant. If humans could manipulate matter and energy at will, what else could they do? "There is more," Thex continued. "I have been mapping the colony using my military training. This place exists in a pocket of folded space. We are not on a planet, Captain. We are inside a dimensional bubble that could be anywhere in the universe." Veltar sat down heavily on a storage crate. "How long have we really been here?" "I do not know," Yenna admitted. "But I found something in the colony archives that I was not supposed to see. Records of residents who arrived decades ago, all believing they had just gotten here. Our memories are being changed, Captain." The revelation hit Veltar like a physical blow. Everything he remembered about the past few months could be false. His sense of time, his understanding of the situation, even his feelings about Haven. All of it might have been artificially created. "Why?" he asked. "Why would they do this to us?" Thex moved to the window and looked out at the sleeping colony. "Think about it, Captain. If humans have technology this advanced, why do they hide in their corner of space? Why do they not rule the galaxy?" "Maybe," Yenna said slowly, "they are protecting us from something." "From what?" "From the knowledge of what they really are." Veltar understood then, and the understanding was horrible. Humans were not keeping them prisoner out of cruelty. They were keeping them safe from a truth that would destroy their minds. The truth that in a universe where humanity existed, every other species was hopelessly primitive. "We are like children to them," he whispered, "playing with toys while adults handle the real work of civilization." Over the following weeks, the three conspirators gathered more evidence. They discovered that Haven's computer systems were not really computers at all, but some kind of thinking machines that could predict their actions and adjust reality around them. The food they ate was created from nothing using matter conversion technology. Even the air they breathed was artificially generated. Most terrifying of all, they realized that their investigation itself might be allowed to happen. If humans could predict and control everything else, they certainly knew about these secret meetings. "We are laboratory animals," Thex said during one of their gatherings. "Comfortable, well-fed laboratory animals being studied by beings so advanced that we cannot even comprehend their motives." Veltar looked at his friends, if beings trapped in an artificial reality could be called friends, and felt a crushing weight of despair. Everything he had believed about his life, his people, his place in the universe, was built on lies designed to keep him happy and ignorant. The worst part was beginning to understand that those lies might be the greatest kindness anyone had ever shown him. Captain Veltar stood alone on the observation deck of Haven Colony, watching the artificial stars twinkle in the dome above. He had been waiting here for an hour, knowing that eventually someone would come to speak with him. His investigation had been too obvious, his questions too direct. The humans knew he had discovered the truth. Footsteps echoed behind him, soft and careful. He turned to see a young human woman approaching. She wore a simple uniform with admiral's insignia, but looked far too young to hold such a high rank. Her eyes, however, carried the weight of someone who had seen too much. "Captain Veltar," she said in perfect galactic standard. "I am Admiral Soyon. I believe we need to talk." Veltar studied her face. Unlike the other humans he had met on Haven, this one did not smile or try to appear friendly. She looked tired and sad, as if carrying a burden too heavy for her shoulders. "You know what I have discovered," he said. It was not a question. "We have known about your investigation from the beginning," Soyon admitted. "We could have stopped you at any time, adjusted your memories, made you forget your questions. But we decided to let you find the truth." "Why?" Soyon moved to stand beside him at the observation window. "Because eventually someone had to know. Someone had to understand what we are really doing here and why." She gestured toward the colony below, where residents were going about their evening routines. Families from different species shared meals together. Children played in the parks. Everyone looked happy and peaceful. "What you see down there is our greatest achievement and our greatest sin," Soyon said quietly. "We have created a perfect prison disguised as paradise." Veltar felt anger rising in his chest. "You have stolen our lives, our freedom, our right to choose our own fate." "Yes," Soyon agreed simply. "We have. And we did it because the alternative was worse." She activated a holographic display that showed the history of human technological development. Veltar watched in growing horror as the timeline revealed humanity's rapid advancement from primitive spaceflight to godlike abilities in less than a century. 70 years ago, we achieved what some call transcendence, Soyon explained. We solved the problems of death, scarcity, and physical limitation. We learned to manipulate matter and energy at will. We could have reshaped the galaxy in whatever image we chose. But you did not. We remembered what we were like before transcendence. The wars, the hatred, the endless cycles of violence, and exploitation. We looked at galactic civilization and saw the same patterns we had lived through. The holographic display shifted to show conflicts throughout galactic history. Wars between species, the rise and fall of empires, the constant struggle for resources and territory. To Veltar, it looked like the natural order of things. To humans, it apparently looked like a disease. "So you decided to play God with our lives," Veltar said bitterly. "We decided to be gardeners," Soyon corrected. "Every ship that enters our space carries beings we study and ultimately preserve. You see imprisonment. We see salvation." "Salvation from what?" Soyon's expression grew infinitely sad. "From the knowledge that would destroy your civilizations. From understanding that you will never advance beyond where you are now. From learning that in a universe where post-transcendent humanity exists, everyone else is forever a child, that you." Words hit Veltar like a physical blow. "You mean..." "I mean that your people, all the species in the galaxy, have reached the limit of what you can become while we exist. Our very presence warps the natural development of civilization. As long as we are here, no one else can grow beyond their current level." Veltar stared at the artificial stars, trying to process this information. "What happens to the galaxy if you leave?" "The same thing that happened to us. Eventually, one species achieves transcendence and faces the same choice we did. The cycle continues. And if you stay, everyone remains as they are now, safe, limited, but alive and happy in their ignorance." The terrible logic of it made Veltar's hearts ache. Humans had not conquered the galaxy because conquest was unnecessary. They had already won by becoming something beyond the reach of any possible challenge. "The residents of Haven," Veltar said slowly. "They will never know. They will live full, happy lives believing they are temporary guests awaiting diplomatic resolution. When they grow old, we will provide medical care that extends their lifespans far beyond normal. Their children will be born here and raised here, never knowing any other world. And if I refuse to accept this, if I try to warn the galaxy..." "Soyon, looked at him with something that might have been respect. Then you will discover that our ability to contain information exceeds even our ability to contain ships. But I do not think you will try. You are too good a captain to condemn your people to despair. Veltar thought about his crew, his people, the entire galaxy full of species still dreaming of advancement and exploration. What would happen to them if they learned the truth? That all their struggles and achievements were meaningless? That they were cosmic children playing in a sandbox while adults handled the real business of existence? He looked down at Haven Colony, where beings from dozens of worlds lived in peaceful ignorance. Perhaps that was not such a terrible fate after all. "What do you need from me?" he asked quietly. Admiral Soyon smiled sadly. "Just your silence. And perhaps someday your help in making this burden easier to bear." Captain Veltar nodded slowly, understanding that he had just become another guardian of humanity's terrible secret.